Brought to you by Penguin.
Fight Right: How Successful Couples Turn Conflict into Connection by Drs. John and Julie Schwartz Gottman. Read by Roy Worley and Kiiri Sandy.
Introduction. What are we fighting for? They were perfectly matched in so many ways. She was a young lawyer, land use law, and so was he, media rights. They were both Midwest transplants to Seattle. They were busy and ambitious and loved to pack their free time with new experiences. When they first met, they'd venture out someplace new every weekend. They hopped in the car and drove up to Vancouver for the weekend to wander the open-air market or pop in for some late-night sushi. They headed off into the mountains for an overnight camping trip, or they grabbed last-minute tickets to a play. They both worked long hours, but loved to be spontaneous in their time off. There was just one tiny problem. She wanted a puppy. He didn't. A year later, there was indeed a puppy, one that had grown into a big, happy, playful dog. But the marriage was ending. Divorce papers were signed. The two moved out of the house they'd bought together before they got married, the one they came home to the night of their wedding, still shaking the sparkly confetti the guests had tossed out of their hair and clothes, laughing. They split up all their furniture, books, pots, and pans. She, of course, took the dog. How did a puppy break up this marriage? The fight started out simply, with a difference of opinion. He thought dogs were too much responsibility, too much work, too much commitment. You couldn't leave a dog home for very long. You couldn't even go away for the day. And dogs could get expensive. Didn't they want to use their extra money in other ways? Hadn't they talked about traveling? But his job required frequent business trips, and he was gone a lot, leaving her alone in the house, where she worked long hours from home. She felt lonely, and when he was away overnight, she got spooked. They hadn't really been traveling like they'd once talked about. Why not get a puppy, a buddy for her to keep her company? She imagined the dog accompanying them on weekend hikes, riding in the car with its head out the window. It was nice to picture them as a threesome, a couple with their dog. They weren't getting anywhere. They just kept looping around inside the same argument with no resolution. His concerns about time, money, and commitment seemed so overblown. If he would just try it, she was sure, he'd see it wasn't that much work. So she decided. She would just get a puppy and give it to him as a gift. Once there was a real, live, adorable fuzzball in his lap, how could he resist? He'd come around. He did not come around. The conflict escalated. He was upset that she'd ignored him and done what she wanted to. She was upset that he continued to dig his heels in, even after she'd told him how important this was to her. To him, the puppy in the house was a constant reminder of how she'd completely disregarded how he felt and what was important to him. To her, his refusal to accept the dog felt like a rejection of her and her needs. Every little thing about the dog sparked a fight. Who would take him out? The vet bill. Having to add his food to the grocery list. Worse, they were fighting about other stuff now, too. More than they ever had before. She started to notice how little he did around the house. Okay, fine, she thought. She'd do most of the dog stuff. It had been her idea. But he seemed to leave the rest of the housework to her, too. Either he didn't care, or he just expected it. Is that what it would be like, she wondered, if they had a baby? For his part, the way she brought stuff up grated on him. She never just asked for help. She'd say, "I guess I'm doing the dishes again tonight." And some little flash of anger inside him would make him snap, "Yeah, I guess so." Later, feeling bad, he'd try to do more. He'd put a few loads...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?